Take care of your tenants and they'll take care of you. It wasn't just cutthroat, I pay your rent or you're getting issued a notice to leave. I've actively worked with the tenant.
Sam Eason, property manager and founder of Exclusively Managed in Brisbane, shares with us a story us property investors do not want to experience firsthand.
How far under market rent are we talking?
$250 a week.
Wow, okay.
Really highlighting why there needs to be a line in the sand for you as the landlord.
You should never make your tenant feel like this is my home, you can't do this. It's the lack of assistance for both parties. I get the warrant of possession and the owner asks me.
Understanding situations like this as a property investor can save you a truckload of cash, sleepless nights, and just wasted time. Here's to making your property investing experience a much smoother one by learning from others' mistakes. My name's Todd Sloan. This is the Pizza and Property Podcast, and you're about to listen to my chat with property manager Samantha Eason.
Samantha Eason, how you going?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
Good, but I kind of feel like we should be around a campfire with some marshmallows or something because you're about to tell a scary story.
I have a few. Property managers do have a few, but I'll give you one recent one.
Okay. Now just promise me there's going to be like an actionable takeaway in the end of this.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like
I
something
think
that
so.
we can all learn from.
100%.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Good. All right, where's it all start?
Okay, so you're an investor. A lot of your listeners are investors or soon to be investors.
Yep.
And I say this as well as a property manager all the time. Take care of your tenants and they'll take care of you. But when I say that, what does that mean to you?
A lot of different things, but be good to the tenant. Like basically don't be a slumlord.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I guess treat others the way you want to be treated.
Okay. And another thing that we're having to tell our clients is this is a transaction. You have to treat it like a business.
Yes, always.
Yeah.
Because just because you can do something, it comes back to the whole possible profitable sort of scenario.
Yeah, I guess so.
Still got to be profitable.
I agree. I know of a situation of where the tenant was in this property for about 5 years or so, maybe 6, going on 6.
Okay.
And
good tenant over the 5-6 years?
You know, like relatively, like given the type of property it is and the condition that it was in, it was relatively good.
Okay.
Relatively good.
Yep.
There was a situation that occurred with that tenant's well-being and health where it deteriorated, and the tenant then, I guess, missed a lot of work and had to do what he had to do.
So we're talking serious health issues.
Yeah, like serious health issues.
Okay.
Now, over that time, the situation was, since maybe the last 2 years, the tenant would be 21 days behind, 45 days behind, 60 days behind.
And this just kept growing.
But then he would pay a little bit, or he'd pay all of it, or then half of it would get paid, or maybe a couple of weeks at a time. It was never 0 days in arrears throughout the last few years. However, the owner understood that the market in Brisbane grew, and so he was like, well, he's not going to be able to find another property. Let's just, we'll increase the rent a little bit, but we'll still keep him in. Just let him know he can't be more than 30 days behind in rent.
And so how far under market rent are we talking? Like
$250 a week.
Wow. Okay. So that's not kind of helping out a little bit. That's a massive.
That's a massive thing.
Yeah.
So if you take into consideration, like the advice from the property manager would have been, hey, look, legally, I don't think we should increase the rent. I don't think he can afford it. There's been so many situations over the last 3-5 years where the rent's been 30 days behind, 60 days behind, and maybe never always remedied. But in saying that as well, if we increase his rent, he won't be able to afford the rent. So having those arguments with the owner, yeah, but right now I don't want to paint the property. Is he going to be able to find another property? What if he can't find a property? What happens to his family? It's
okay, so this guy's really caring about the
100%.
tenant. Yeah, okay.
100%. Let's rewind. Last year, the owner decides to renovate the property and get market rent. I'm going to live off my property for retirement. That's the plan. So knowing that the tenant is going to have difficulties finding a property, we inform the tenant, as we are legally required.
Yep.
The tenant stops paying rent. Now, when you go through rent arrears in Brisbane, best practice is that you try and work with the tenant on a payment plan first, and if they default on that payment plan, you go to court. There has to be evidence that either the tenant's not paying rent at all, so none. But if you go to QCAT, which is our court system up here in Brisbane, and they say, oh, but the tenant's paid $400 instead of $500, couldn't you work with the tenant? The adjudicators at court will not tell you, will not give you that warrant of possession because of the limited properties.
Warrant of possession, for anyone that's wondering, so you're talking about vacant access of the property, correct?
Yeah, so police come to the property.
Yeah, gotcha.
So best practice, you avoid having to go to QCAT once to then be told to return in 30 or 60 days, and you try and work out with the tenant. Not very many property managers do that, and you'll find if they're not experienced or not trained, they'll just quickly apply to QCAT on the first notice to remedy breach or notice to leave. They'll be sent away from court, and they have to show that they're working with the tenant.
Okay.
So during this process, the situation was I found that the tenant was 90 days in arrears. And whilst waiting for it to reach the 90 days, may have been 80 to 90, we had various falsified bank receipts sent through of payments coming in.
Open that up a little bit. Falsified bank receipts. So you're talking about just jumping on Photoshop?
Either that or he's rung the bank up immediately after and cancelled the transaction before it left.
So that way the tenant's basically going, oh, no, I've sent it.
Yeah.
Here's proof.
Here's proof. When we receive that proof, we have to act. Now, being that the owner allowed the tenant to be 30 days in arrears, we had to wait until he was at least 60. Because 9 times out of 10, with past experience, the tenant paid.
So open that up a little bit. Well, why? Because he let it get to 30, he had to wait to 60. So if he didn't...
The owner wanted to wait and see...
Oh, the owner wanted to wait?
Yes.
So that's not some tweak in legislation?
No,
Okay, gotcha.
No. So the owner wanted to wait. Look, I can't kick him out. He's got a family. Can you just reach out to him? We reached out. Hey, yes, I'm paying this Friday. Falsified receipt. We'd have to wait until maybe Monday, Tuesday to see if the money's come in. No money. Look, owner hasn't received any money. I really need you to pay something. And I, knowing how adjudicators in the court system works, I'm doing everything I can to help you. I really need some income coming in. If I do not have any, it's not going to be a good process, and we have to proceed to the next step, which is going to QCAT. So
and
again,
this is what you said to the tenant?
Yes, and I had all of this as evidence in our QCAT documentation. So every text message, reach out to this organisation, they can assist you with rental payments. Reach out here, do you need any assistance? Can I come and meet you? You name it. It wasn't just cutthroat, hi, pay your rent or you're getting issued a notice to leave. I've actively worked with the tenant. Now, when we applied to QCAT, he would have been around 60 days notice in arrears, 60 days. And then by the time we actually went to QCAT, because of timeframes, it was around 80 to 90 days.
Okay. And still paying nothing?
Still paying nothing. Text messages the Friday before. It may have been a Monday or a Tuesday case. And then text messages after. He did not show at QCAT, and it was a 9:30 a.m. session. I was in and out within 15 minutes. All the adjudicator had to see was that, one, I tried working with him. I've told him that I need him to pay something. And then I've received nothing back. It also didn't help that he didn't come to QCAT. But at the end of the day, it works for the owner. And that's, I have to ensure that here's best practice. I get the warrant of possession, and the owner asks me, do we have to proceed with it? And at this time...
90 days in arrears?
He's at 90 days in arrears.
Okay.
He did not want to kick out his tenants. If we fast forward 2 weeks for when the police actually attended...
So they did come?
Yeah, they had to.
Okay.
I really don't want this to happen to the tenant. Is there anything I can do for him? I feel really bad.
Do you have a spare room at home?
I just don't understand. The tenant abandoned a cat. He did not vacate any of his possessions. And it's incredibly difficult walking through a property seeing drawings that the children have done.
Yeah,
I love you, Dad. You're the best dad. Thank you, Dad. Knowing the situation that's occurred previously. That's incredibly difficult. We had a trade who mentally couldn't clean up the property because it was affecting his mental health. So we had to go and run last minute to find another trade. And then during that period, the tenant broke back into the property because we can only assume he had nowhere else to go and damaged the property. And now...
When you say damaged?
He broke the balustrade on the balcony and then smashed open the door to get in.
Yeah, right.
So, like, in the grand scheme of things, it's an okay vacate because, like, the last thing you want to see, the worst vacates are the ones that have feces smeared up on the walls and urinal in the carpet and, like, every single wall is smashed in. They're nightmares. When people leave their stuff behind, it's relatively...
It's not the best, but it's not the worst, yeah.
The legislation's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's just a nightmare. And then it gets to the point of now we're trying to repaint the property. There's no wall damages like that. It's obviously wear and tear. He's been in the property for 8 years. So it's 100% all wear and tear on the walls, being that there's no large damages. The owner is now expecting something quick. But we weren't the ones that wanted him to continue a year ago or 2 years ago.
So
and now that the market got worse and harder for tenants with bad rental references, he wouldn't remove him from the property.
So now you're getting pressure from the owner of work fast, get this property done.
Yep.
Right. Okay. I don't know what to say about that because there's so many things, and this is such a touchy subject. And just first of all, thank you for actually sharing this because I know that there's probably going to be some comments on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Oh, yeah. I didn't think about that. That's okay.
Either way. But
more publicity is good publicity.
but it's more so the awareness of it because at first glance, you look at what this landlord's doing and the first thought is like, what a legend. How good is he helping this person that's fallen on like serious medical issues? They're going, yeah, cool, no, whatever I can do. None of it's been repaid. It's like he's still been left with 3 months worth of rent. That's huge. It's been under rented by $250 a week. It's been, now he's got bills of thousands of dollars. I don't even know what they cost to get everything completely cleared out, get everything fixed up. Then the QCAT hearings, everything. What I'm really taking away from this personally, and I've actually upped a few of my rents just to market value, and it's been a similar situation because of this, because I feel that landlords are the easiest ones to throw under the bus right now in the media. It's greedy landlord everywhere.
No, but it's not greedy landlords, I don't think. I think it's the lack of assistance for both parties. So,
well, I don't think it is, but I think that's the perception.
That's what I mean. So, like, everyone assumes that the landlord has to do this, but, like, he is a wonderful client. He's wonderful. As a landlord, he's wonderful, but he's too trusting. And there is a difference between letting your tenants feel like their home is their home. You should never make your tenant feel like, this is my home. You can't do this. They need to be able to live in their home.
But there needs to be a line in the sand for what's reasonable.
There has to 100% be a line. But the issue is a lot of owners are saying, well, I want market rent. I don't want to kick out my tenant. Their tenant may not want to leave, so they sign. But is anyone checking that the tenants can afford the rent? So they're asking for $100, $150 a week increase. We are still seeing large increases in Brisbane. But is anyone actually confirming that those tenants can afford the rent? Because this particular tenant couldn't before the market did what it did, and that's when they should have vacated the property several years ago.
Could you imagine doing the same thing to any other business? Like imagine going to Woolies for 3 months straight and just walking out without paying for your groceries.
Yeah, I know. And that's
you're a thief. Like
yeah. And that's where I think we won at QCAT, because I made a comment that the payment receipts that we're receiving, he's actively being deceitful. But it was 15 minutes. And I don't know if you've been to QCAT.
I have not.
I've been several times. I still get nervous. And even if I know that I'm on the winning side, I don't know what it is, but you're standing up someone who's 80 years old and they never smile. You're just 100% nervous. And you don't know how it could go. And even in that moment, I was a timid little mouse just sitting in the corner freaking out because, one, I could get yelled at. Why did you let it drag on for this long? That's the first question I was expecting the adjudicator to say. Even though right now we have to work with tenants on arrears, but there are so many agencies out there that can support tenants and owners as well.
So can I ask then, and in the interest of time as well, I think we've gone over again,
Sorry.
but that's still good, all good. Can you, in a 30 to 60 second wrap up, say with complete control, if you weren't leaving the decisions up to the owner, how should it have been handled?
So if we're to think about how the owner should have handled it, if you have 6 to 12 months of continuous arrears with your tenants and they are not upstanding tenants, and I mean keep the house like a show home sort of tenants, because there could be reasons where they work in the mines, they don't have access to internet banking for several months. Unfortunately, some people who earn a lot of money, like those who work in the mines, don't have direct debits. It could be where their banks get scammed, so they personally like to transfer money. I do have a few tenants that are like that.
All right.
So for that reason, but if your tenant is continuously behind in rent and it's been going on for 6 to 12 months, you need to cut the loss. There are other great tenants out there. And I think in comparison, you would rather wait 2 weeks or 4 weeks with or without a rental income finding new tenants than having to replace and go through an insurance claim for 3 months of rent arrears plus damages.
So basically, read the scenario. If you haven't been treated well as the landlord, well, then it's not about being an ass as a landlord, but it's about kind of recognizing if I keep going out of my way to do nice things for this tenant, chances are that it's not going to be a reciprocal relationship.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just unfortunate because this tenant had a bad most recent situation take place. I don't believe it would have escalated if that situation didn't take place recently.
Okay.
However, it could have also been resolved 2.5 years ago, 3.5 years ago, when the first signs of angst showed.
Well, Samantha Eason from Exclusively Managed, thank you for sharing this story. I really appreciate your
Okay.
time.
Thank you.